That's dark, that, isn't it? I really need to sort some lighting out. It's ridiculous. Well, that's what you get when you don't have a kitchen with a frickin' window. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to do another video in the pantrydemic recipe series, and today we're going to do a chorizo and spinach risotto. Now, risottos are fantastic at the minute. If you look on the playlist, you'll see I've put a few on there because A, they're easy to make, and B, they're a great carrier of flavour. So once you've made the basic risotto, you can pretty much add what you like. So today we're going to do chorizo and spinach, but you can mix it up if you like, put fish in there, prawns, you can put salmon in there, sausages, bacon, even vegetarian is fine, but that's what we're going to make today. Now, before I get into this, obviously I'm going to go through my usual talk. It is April the 23rd, 2020. The world is in the grips of a pandemic the likes of my generation have never seen before. So on that, remember to follow your respective government's advice. For us in the UK, that means we're on lockdown, so we can only go out for essentials such as food and medicine. We can exercise once a day, go to and from work if we can't work from home, and if we do have to go out, keep 2 meters apart. So if you don't need to go out, please stay home, because remember, this is not about you, it's about all of us. But anyway, onto the recipe. As per usual, if you look down below, you can get all the ingredients that you need. And if you get your face down here, I'll show you what to do. Right, okay, so I've got some ingredients here that are going to be the start of our story for our risotto. Got an onion here diced up, some tomato. I've got about 3 tomatoes here, and I've just kind of got one there for reference for size. And also the vines. If you bought vine on tomatoes, keep the vines. The reason is if you squish that up in your hands, smell it, what does it smell of? Tomato. So obviously that's got tomato flavour in it. So what I'm going to do is bung that into the risotto and then fish them out at the end for extra flavour. Got my chorizo here, which we're going to chop up in a minute, stock, and we've got our rice. Now this is arborio, which is kind of like the standard rice for any kind of risotto. If you can get carnaroli, use that instead because it's a far superior rice and you'll end up with a much creamier, tastier risotto at the end. I couldn't get it, so arborio is absolutely fine. We've got some other bits and pieces going in there. We've got the spinach and I may add some broccoli as well, but this is just kind of the basics to start with. So what I'm going to do now is just get this chorizo chopped up and then we can start cooking. So what I'm going to do then with the chorizo is just cut off the ends, and I'm going to cut that in half. And also what I'm going to do is just run the knife down the middle because it's coated in a very thin layer of like a paper-like skin. I don't really want that in the risotto, so I'm going to take it off. It's just kind of a bit chewy and not very pleasant, so just kind of peel that off. And once you've removed that outer skin, we're going to dice this up into cubes. Now the fantastic thing about chorizo is it's got lots of flavour in there already. So it means that you need fewer ingredients for your actual risotto. There's already garlic in there, there's paprika, there's lots of fat in there, lots of meaty flavours. There's a bit of spice in there, so it's got lots of flavour packed in there. So that's why I'm using it. So I'm just going to cut this down the middle and then just kind of dice it into rough chunks. No need to be too fussy with it. And once you've diced up your chorizo just like that, we can get cooking. Right, so everything's pretty much prepped now. I've got a nice big pot here. I'm just going to get that onto a heat, sort of a lowish heat. We don't want it really hot. And I'm just going to add a touch of olive oil, not too much, because there's going to be lots of fat in that chorizo, which is going to leach out into our risotto. So then I'm going to add the onions, and I just want to get those going just for a couple of minutes, nice and slow, just before we add the chorizo. Okay, so the onions have just started to soften. So now I'm going to add the chorizo, just get it straight in there. And again, just keeping it on a fairly low heat. You want to just kind of soften that chorizo, get those onions nice and translucent. And what you'll start to see happen is all the fat and oil will start to render out of the chorizo, and it will turn a lovely golden colour. So I'm going to stir this nice and gently for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back to it. And if you look, see, after a couple of minutes, you can see all that lovely sort of golden oil that's come out of that chorizo. And that's going to add so much flavour, colour, and it's just going to make it really, really nice. It's all about flavour here, folks, all about flavour. And now I'm not going to protest that this is some sort of traditional Italian risotto, because risotto is Italian, chorizo is Spanish. But it's going to be delicious. It's kind of like a Spain meets Italy kind of thing, pot of deliciousness. I digress, folks, I digress. So what we're going to do now is throw in the rice. So kind of mix that around, get all that rice coated in that lovely oil. And look at the colour already. Next, I'm going to chuck in the tomatoes and the vine as well. We'll fish the vine out at the end. And what I want to do is just slightly break down those tomatoes a little bit. So just keep stirring, just until the tomatoes slightly soften. Right, so it's been a couple of minutes, got some heat into that rice. The tomatoes have started to break down a little bit. So now it's time to add the stock. Now I'm using chicken stock, you can use veg stock if you want. The important thing is use good stuff. Don't use any cheap naff stock because it's overly salty and there's not much flavour. If you haven't got homemade, which is obviously ideal, you can use kind of store-bought stock. Now I use these, which are Knorr jelly pots. No, I'm not endorsed by them, I'm not sponsored by them, it's just good stuff. So please send the check, Knorr, send the check. So I'm going to start adding the stock a little bit at a time. So I'm going to add about, I don't know, say 100, 150 ml, and immediately start stirring. Now the thing with a risotto is you can't leave it alone. Okay, so you can't go off, tend to the kids, go and have a bath and leave it bubbling away, watch TV, you can't do anything like that. You've got to keep stirring, because what's happening is as you're stirring, you're agitating the rice and releasing the starch, and that's what gives a risotto its distinct creamy texture. Think of it a bit like a savoury rice pudding, okay? And once you start to see the stock disappear, you can add a little bit more. Another, say, 100 ml-ish. And basically you just got to keep repeating the process, just keep stirring it, stirring it, stirring it, until that stock is absorbed, and then you can add a bit more. Keep going, keep stirring, add some more stock, yada, yada, yada. And I'd say after about 15-20 minutes, you can taste the rice and see how done it is. You still want a little bit of bite to it, but obviously you want the rice to be cooked. So I'm going to carry on 10 to this, and I'll see you guys in about 20 minutes or so. But the great thing is about standing in the kitchen, at your hob, at one with your risotto, is you can think about things. You know, you can contemplate life, philosophy, past loves, future loves, present hates, thinking about your favourite restaurants that you can't go to at the minute because everything's locked down. You can just stare deep into that pool of rice and stock, forget about the worries of the world right now, and just kind of philosophise, you know? I can think about that book deal I might get one day, be on the telly with James Martin cooking this risotto in front of a studio audience, live on TV, messing it up. I can think about the idiots at work and how much I'd like to put them in the risotto, and just generally let life tick by as you wait for your risotto to cook. That was all a bit Nigella, wasn't it? Right, okay, so it's been about 20 minutes. Look at this thing. Look how beautiful that is. It's pretty much ready to go. It's still a little bit thick, but we've got some extra stock just on standby, just to kind of loosen it up. It's all about getting the right sort of texture here. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of taste it for seasoning. Just a bit of the rice. Now the rice is pretty much there. It's still got a very tiny bit of bite, but what I am going to add is just some salt, some pepper. And what I am going to do is just kind of fish out those tomato vines because they've done their job. So I'm going to add an optional extra, some butter. That's just going to add a bit of extra richness. I'm also going to add some spinach. Now spinach does wilt down quite a lot, so I'm going to add a big couple of handfuls. You can always add more if you want. And I'm also going to add a couple of cubes of our frozen parsley that we did on that frozen herbs video. And I'm just going to add a touch more stock. And what I'm going to do is again just kind of mix that all through until that spinach wilts down, that parsley melts through, and we're pretty much there. And that butter is just going to add a nice layer of extra richness. You could add some cheese, some parmesan would be great in this, but guess what? I haven't got any, so I can't add it in. And I think because there's quite a lot of richness going on in here, I'm going to add a splash of lemon juice. Now if you've got fresh lemons, fantastic. I haven't, so I've got this kind of bottled naff stuff, but it will do in a pinch. So just a couple of dashes of that. So this is now ready to plate up. You can see how lovely and creamy that is. Now a risotto should be served straight away, because if you leave it too long it's going to stiffen up. But listen guys, what you can do is just leave it on the back burner, just on a nice gentle heat, and then when you're ready to serve, just get a kettle of boiling water, add a little bit of water to loosen it up, and you're golden. So anyway, that's now done, that's ready to go. I'm going to serve this up and we can give it a taste. Right, so here's the risotto. It's stiffened up a little bit because it's been sitting around because I've been taking photos and whatnot, but it's still going to be delicious. So let's give this a try. Now I was going to add some broccoli into it, but then I thought actually kind of doesn't need it. It's fine as it is, so I'm going to use the broccoli for something else. And of course if you've got some cheese on there, some parmesan would be absolutely delicious, but I haven't got any. So I'm going to have to go with that. So let's kind of get a bit of everything in there. Some of that chorizo, some rice, yada yada. Let's give it a try. That chorizo adds so much flavour. It almost seasons it. Got a real punch of garlic, got the nice smoky meaty flavour from the chorizo. It's lovely and creamy. It's really fantastic. Now, this will feed 4-5 people easily, because you've got to remember that risotto is really, really filling. Well, there we have it, a really simple risotto with chorizo and spinach. It's a fantastic store cupboard staple, really delicious, hearty, warming, comforting, and all that malarkey. Tasty, nutritious. Any other words that I can throw in there? Now, if you enjoyed the video, then please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, make sure you hit the bell icon. That way you get notified of all my uploads. And remember to stay safe, stay calm, look out for each other. I'll see you guys in the next video, and bye for now.